And so there are certainly times where we're working with a buyer or a seller and somebody on the other side, the opposing party, if you will, just becomes very challenging to deal with. For this segment specifically, I kind of just have to call it like I see it, because there are plenty of agents that love to insert drama and rattle cages and ruffle feathers just to make it look like they're doing something proactive for their client, when in reality, all they're doing is frustrating people or irritating the process. And it's not accomplishing anything other than them thinking like it makes them look good. And so let me tell you the story. We're working with an investor, and this investor, when we sit down with an investor, we have a very detailed conversation where we essentially assess their level of risk, what their investment criteria is, what they're looking for, what they will and will not consider, and then we overlay that with market behavior. Are those things that they want to accomplish achievable? And are they scalable? If we're talking about one investment, sure, everybody can find a diamond in the rough, a home run opportunity, but if we're trying to do this every month, multiple times a month, we want to flip 3 homes a month. What are some of the things that we should be looking for? And so we go under contract with this property, and all the numbers check out. Everything makes sense. They're going to earn their required return on investment. And then it comes time for repairs. And so this property that's listed for sale, cosmetically at least, it looks great. Somebody has already renovated this, and in this particular instance, this investor wanted to buy the property and rent it out. So all the numbers make sense. Everything looks good on paper. Then it comes to the home inspection. We notice that the person that renovated this property really only put lipstick on it. I mean, there were several areas within this house that needed work, and certainly areas that the seller knew needed work. I'm sure at some point in time they were made aware of some of these deficiencies. But here's the deal. Whenever you sell a property in South Carolina, you're supposed to fill out a property condition disclosure statement, and it's essentially a document. It's 5 pages, and it outlines everything in that house, and it asks the question of, do any active problems currently exist in any of these areas? And it is a full diagnosis, essentially, of your house. And on this particular property, it was marked all no's. Anytime you see a property condition disclosure statement that says there's nothing wrong with the house whatsoever, it's a clean bill of health, so to speak. But you almost always know that just because they're not aware that something is wrong doesn't mean that something isn't wrong with the house. We always find something on a home inspection. But in this particular instance, we found a whole lot. And it irritated this investor because our client, the buyer, knows that this seller skimped over that stuff and just decided to try and sweep it under the rug. So we submit a repair request saying, hey, these are the things that we found on the inspection report that we need fixed in order to move forward, because if we have to pay to fix them, given the assumption that this was a renovated property, it now hurts our return on investment and we can't move forward. And so the seller says, I'm not going to fix any of that stuff. I mean, you guys saw the house when you walked through it, and it's a great house. It's in great shape, blah, blah, blah. And so, they get into a bit of a shouting match, so to speak. It didn't escalate to that point, but the buyer, our client, said, you know what, if they're not going to fix it, then we have to walk, to which we agree. We're looking at the numbers here, and in an investment deal, the only thing that really matters is the numbers. Okay, it should not be an emotional process. It's a business decision. It's an investment decision. And so the seller says, hey, I'm not going to fix any of this stuff. The buyer says, okay, well, so be it. I'm walking. I'm getting my earnest money back, and I'm going to go and pursue something else. And here's where things got tricky. When we told the listing agent that, hey, this buyer we're done. We can't move forward. We can't afford these repairs and accomplish our return on investment goals. Then the seller came back and they said, hey, you know what? Just come up with the number. What is it going to take for us to move forward on this deal? And so when they say that to us, the agent representing the investor, that's obviously music to our ears, right? Because now we can go back to the buyer and say, hey, you know what? We got them. They're now willing to make these repairs. But this particular investor that we represented, the buyer, said, you know what? No, I'm done with them. I'm done with this property. He tried to pull one over on me. I caught him. He knows he shouldn't have done that. He knows he should have fixed those things when he bought the property and renovated it and tried to resell it for profit. And I'm just done with it. I'm not gonna move forward with this property. And so this is where things get really challenging for real estate agents. This very specific point in this story, because on one hand, you want to be really blunt with somebody and say, hey, you're not making a smart decision. You're letting your emotions get in the way. Remember, this is an investment property where the numbers are the thing that matter the most. But you can't really say that to a client. I mean, we are very, very straightforward with our clients, and we ask permission to be straightforward with our clients when we meet with them for the first time, because that's just naturally who we are. We don't like sugarcoating things. We don't like beating around the bush. I want to be able to tell you something like it is, with truth, with compassion, and help you make informed decisions. That's what a quality real estate agent does. We're not afraid to have difficult conversations. And so we're having this conversation with our client about the fact that, hey, we've got this seller right where we want them. Why don't we come up with the number? Or maybe, if you really feel that way, why don't we inflate that number a little bit and try and, make a little extra money on this deal and move forward with it? Ultimately, we didn't move forward. It's the investor's decision. We have to respect it as agents, and we'll go and we'll find them something else. And yeah, sure, you could say that, hey, everything happens for a reason, and maybe it wasn't meant to be. But the reality is there have been so many times throughout the course of my career where people have made decisions that are just based on emotion that are not, in the grand scheme of things, wise decisions. And as real estate agents, it is not helpful for us to become emotional with you. We need to be the rock in the storm. We need to be the person that applies sound judgment to decision-making and to our consultation with you so that you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing and that you're making decisions that have a positive impact on the transaction and the process in general.